Physics is pretty amazing. It might be a bit hard to understand its complicated concepts, but it can practically explain almost everything in the universe. Just imagine, every single thing around us, from subatomic particles to the entire universe, every single one abides by the laws of physics. Of course, we still have a lot to discover in this field, but its laws are already what makes our world go round. There are still many things on our planet that seemingly defy the very laws of physics. From the gombak, the shape that shouldn't exist, to the daunting vertical driving, here are 15 craziest things that defy the laws of physics. Number 15. The gombak. It might look like an ordinary object at first glance, but the gombak is one of the strangest things you'll ever encounter. It's shaped like an egg with sharp edges, and its magic starts when you put it down, and it seemingly comes to life. Once you put this thing down, it will begin to move until it finds the perfect spot to be stable. So how exactly does this thing work? The gombak is said to be a shape that shouldn't have existed, yet it does. And it continues to amaze everyone that sees it for the first time. This shape only has 2 equilibrium points, which means it's either stable or unstable. And this object will right itself no matter how you set it down. To explain it better, just imagine that you have an egg in your hand. You can balance an egg once you find the right position, which is the stable point. Now imagine a rectangular metal. You can set it down on any of its sides and it'll stay in place. These are the stable points. However, all of its corners are considered unstable points. With most shapes, you need to find the stable point yourself. This shape will move around until it's at its stable point. Pretty cool, right? I think it's kind of cool to have as a fidget toy. What's more is that the entire gombak is homogeneous, which means there's no other trick to its self-righting movement aside from its shape. There are no other objects just like this on the entire planet. So this shape truly is like no other. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now. Number 14. The rattleback. Here's another unassuming object. It's semi-elliptical in shape, and it looks like a mini canoe. There's a reason why it got its name. The rattleback can only turn in a single direction. It can be either clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on its build and design. Most objects can spin in both directions regardless of their weight distribution. For instance, a perfume bottle, a wine bottle, or an egg will spin in both directions. But the rattleback is different. This particular rattleback can only spin clockwise, and if you try to spin it counterclockwise, it will reject this notion as it rattles and slowly spins towards the other way. The rattleback looks like it violates the laws of conservation of angular momentum, but really this is not the case. The law of conservation of angular momentum states that the total amount of spinning in any closed system is constant. Angular momentum is determined by the object's mass and velocity, and how far its mass extends from the point of rotation. So let's just say that an ice skater is performing a spin. If they pull their arms in, they spin quicker, but if they extend their arms, they spin slower. You probably already get the gist. It may look like this toy doesn't make sense in terms of physics, but it has been explained in 2011. In short, it is just a smart interaction of forces. Just inertia, gravity, and friction. Number 13. Levitating foil. You're seeing it correctly. This is an aluminum foil floating in the air. The glass tank isn't filled with anything but air, and yet the aluminum foil seems to be floating. However, it starts to go back down after being filled with what seems like air. There's no magic behind this trick. The glass tank is actually filled with a colorless and odorless gas called sulfur hexafluoride. The gas is denser than the air around us, which means you can get and pour it into a glass container, just like what they're doing in this video. The foil boat is pretty light, so it easily floats, but just like water, once you pour the sulfur hexafluoride on top of the foil boat, it'll get heavier, which makes it sink to the bottom. It might be mind-boggling to see, but the science behind it isn't really complicated. Just think of its mechanics as how a boat can float on water. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. This demonstration might be cool, but today, scientists and researchers are opposed to this demonstration. Sulfur hexafluoride can be dangerous, and high exposure can lead to the buildup of fluid in the lungs and severe shortness of breath. What's more, this gas is recognized as one of the most potent greenhouse gases, which can negatively affect our environment. Number 12. Starlight. Starlight is a substance with amazing heat-resisting properties. It was featured in 1990 on BBC's Tomorrow's World. The Starlight was a white sticky coating that seemingly resisted an insane amount of heat. In the demo, they coated a raw egg with the material, then put it under the heat of a blowtorch. Amazingly enough, the egg stayed raw despite the heat, which means the Starlight prevented the egg from being affected by the heat source. Even after being directly under the blowtorch, the egg is still cool enough to the touch to be safely picked up. So what really is Starlight, and why can it resist so much heat? The Starlight was invented by British hairdresser and amateur chemist Maurice Ward during the 1970s and 1980s. Imagine such a great material was invented, and yet it only gained the attention it deserved after being featured on BBC's show in 1990. It sparked huge interest among the public. This type of material has many potentials. There are countless possibilities for a material like this. It could be used for fire protection and even spacecraft heat shields. Ward only gave vague details of its composition, and there isn't much else to know about it. An American company called ThermoShield claimed to have acquired the rights to this material in 2013, but there are no products about Starlight to date. Number 11. Hydrophobic materials. During the rainy season, you probably get tired of washing and cleaning your car over and over again, only for it to get muddy after just one drive. Well, have you ever heard of hydrophobic materials? Just take a look at this amazing spray. This coating agent not only makes mud and water slide right off your car, but it also prevents dirt and scratches. This is just one of the many uses of hydrophobic substances. These are things that are water resistant, which means they don't really get wet. How does this thing work? After spraying the coating agent on your car, the water droplets will be repelled by the hydrophobic or superhydrophobic coating. Hydrophobic substances might sound incredible, but they're a lot more common than you think. You may even have some of them in your house. Waxes, greases, vegetable oil, and steroids are all considered hydrophobic. However, these materials might not be as effective as the coating sprays developed by companies. Number 10. Memory metal. Shape memory metals are one of the most intriguing types of materials. How exactly do they work? In this video, a piece of metal is originally shaped like a clip. In the demo, the man easily straightened the thin piece of metal, but after being exposed to a high temperature, the alloy immediately returned to its original state. This is the reason why they're called shape memory metals. These metals are alloys that can be deformed when they're cold, but they quickly return to their original state when heated. They're also called memory alloy, smart alloy, or muscle wire. These materials have atoms that arrange themselves into two kinds of crystalline structures depending on whether they're hot or cold. When they're cold, you can bend or reshape them, but once you heat them back, the atoms will shift back into the original crystalline structure they had. You can determine your original shape by molding the material when it's really hot. This will define its original form. Heating is the only way they retain their original shape, so temperature is the secret behind this mind-boggling trick. Number 9. Stone in the air. This is the new attraction in the Mozam Jahi Market Junction Road in Hyderabad, India. The installation consists of two rocks, one of them seemingly suspended in the air. It left many of the passers-by curious as to how the installation worked. Did the artist use any optical illusion to complete the trick? Or is there a magic trick behind it? This work of art is the product of great engineering. It was installed by the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, and it was made by a few people, including engineers. The rocks are actually balanced through gravitational force. The rock at the bottom is extremely heavy, while the rock that's suspended in the air is lighter, both made with fiberglass. There are also pipes of different sizes to support the two rocks, and the piece was completed with a rope. Although the science behind it is pretty simple, it's undeniable that the piece is intriguing to look at. Number 8. Monkey Man. If you're an avid wall climber, then you might already know about the Monkey Man of India, Jyothi Raj. This guy has some insane skills that made everyone compare him to Spider-Man or a monkey. Just take a look at this. Jyothi can scale rocky walls with almost no stone to hold on to. According to him, he got his climbing technique from monkeys that he keenly observed. Over time, he learned their agility and amazing climbing skills. This guy performed some pretty reckless stunts on this wall. but he already memorized where to put his hands and feet to effectively scale the wall without falling. He capitalizes on his insane skill by performing stunts for the tourists that visit the area. Upon seeing this guy, you'd really think that he defied the laws of physics with his gravity-defying skills. Number 7. Heron's Fountain. Heron's Fountain is a brilliant machine created by an inventor in the 1st century AD. Based on the name of this machine, you probably already know which inventor created it. It's none other than the hero of Alexandria himself, Heron. Virtually, you can create an endless fountain using 3 bottles, but it requires you to be pretty precise. Don't get me wrong though, the Heron's Fountain isn't really a perpetual motion machine. It can go on for several minutes, sometimes even hours. But essentially, perpetual motion still proves to be impossible to achieve time and time again. Number 6. One-way tent. You're gonna love this tent, especially if you like camping or even hunting for game. This is the see-through hunting blind tent that features one-way vision. You can see your entire surroundings while you're inside the tent, but outside, you're completely covered. It might be a bit confusing, but there's no magic involved in the creation of this tent. Of course, science made it possible for us to create such an amazing feat. The brilliant design of this tent relies on a special type of scrim. This material is opaque when lit from the front, but you can see through from behind it. It is that simple. But the mechanics don't make it less amazing. Imagine bringing this camping or hunting. You'd get the privacy you want when the tent is zipped, but you have the ability to view your surroundings. There is one downside though. The inside of the tent shouldn't be lit up, or else it'll lose its one-way effect. Pretty good tent to use, especially when you want to be closer to nature without compromising your privacy. The good news? You can actually get your hands on one of these because they're available on the market. Just make sure you get authentic products though. It'd be a huge disappointment if you get a dupe. Number 5. One-way bulletproof glass. We all know about bulletproof glass. These materials are capable of protecting someone from bullets while still having the transparency of glass. Before I explain to you how one-way bulletproof glass works, let me explain to you how exactly this type of glass works. Bulletproof glass is usually composed of multiple glass layers: vinyl, polycarbonate, and sometimes transparent ceramics. Imagine that you're a baseball player and you manage to catch an extremely fast-moving ball. To effectively do this, you have to move your hand back and stop the ball slowly to reduce its energy. With this method, you can catch the ball with little to no pain. This is the same with bulletproof glass. It can't really move your hand to lessen the impact of the bullet, but instead, it's created to be able to absorb the energy of the bullet gradually. It will shatter, but it will effectively act as a barrier against bullets. With ordinary glass, the bullet will hit it and will keep on going, piercing through anyone or anything behind it. But with bulletproof glass, the glass will shatter, but the plastic inside will absorb the bullet's energy, effectively stopping it. One-way bulletproof glass is a material that has the same characteristics as ordinary bulletproof glass, while still having the same characteristics as a one-way mirror. This material really provides you with top-notch security and privacy. And now it's time for today's topic. Imagine if the magic carpet ride is actually true. Wouldn't that be cool? It would really be one of the craziest things that defy the laws of physics. Just imagine, it's like an ordinary carpet, but it could take you anywhere you want to go. This cool device has long been featured in many stories. But is it really possible for us to create a magic carpet with the science available to us right now? Well, some of us have already developed machines that can make someone fly using pressurized water. And there are already some hoverboards invented that could make someone float in the air. Essentially, it is possible to create a magic carpet that can fly, but it wouldn't be able to carry people. According to researchers, a thin, light carpet could potentially fly in the air by creating ripples that push against fluids like air or water. The science is a bit complicated, but basically, a magic carpet isn't impossible, but in real life, it will never be able to carry humans. It could still be made though, but perhaps we'll be seeing it further away in the future. As always, comment down below with the hashtag today's